Welcome at our EU-India industry workshop organized by GNSS Asia, focusing on GNSS applications for logistics and e-commerce. The agenda for today, very briefly, will feature first welcome words by our global coordinator, Rainer Horn, followed by a setting the scene on the European market presented by the European GNSS agency by Martin Zunkovic and Alberto Fernandez-Wittenbach. That's followed by a landscaping of the Indian market presented by our own GNSS Asia coordinator from India, Farad Krishna. And then we have a panel discussion moderated by Rainer with 4 panel members, 2 from India and 2 from Europe. Now, before we move forward, a quick Zoom crash course for those who haven't had the opportunity to use the system yet in COVID times. You never know, please mute yourself if you're not speaking. If you have any questions, join us in the Q&A, and do feel free to talk to panelists and fellow participants using the chat button. Just for GDPR and personal data practices, this workshop will be recorded. It will be published on our website. Your personal data or personal names and companies will not be spread in public. It has been sent to the panelists just to prepare themselves and will not be distributed any further. Now, before we move forward, we'd like to get to know you a bit, and we've prepared a poll which will appear on your screen right now. And this polling is asking, okay, what does your organization do? In which domain is your organization active? And where are you based? So do feel free to click to fill in the poll, let's say, and to let us know where you're from, so we get a bit of a better understanding of the people we have with us today. The poll is being filled in. We almost have everyone who've done it. Results are coming in. We're almost there. A number of remaining people to vote, and then we'll close the polling. All right, we'll end the polling for now, and we'll share the results with everyone. We see that we have quite some people from the R&D and university background, and then an almost equal distribution between application developers and end users, with also some component manufacturers and system integrators. Many come from rail. We see some people also from logistics, road, and e-commerce, which are the focus, and many even from another domain who apparently have a big interest in the topics at hand. The majority of people are from India, some from Europe, and some even think they're out of this world. That was a small joke. Thanks for filling it in, and thank you for polling everyone. Good. Let's move forward with the agenda. And as showed to you before, we'll start with the opening comments by our global coordinator, Rainer Horn. Rainer, the floor is all yours.
Yes, thank you, Hannes, and thank you, Hannes, Ravi, and Varat for organizing this webinar. I'm very pleased that we have such a huge participation, and I hope you're all well, and I wish you all the best in these difficult times, in this hopefully not for too long new normal that we're operating in. Maybe a few words on GNSS Asia. GNSS Asia is continuing, obviously not with live events, but we're trying to bring as much interaction between the continents as possible. And this is one of the formats that we have innovated here. GNSS Asia is now in its 9th year. We started in 2012, helping to be the bridge for the European GNSS systems and building partnerships with institutions and for companies with Asia and between Asia and Europe. Normally we do all kinds of exchanges and physical meetups, events, content meetups, and so forth. We continue to do the market intelligence. We have recently done a comprehensive Asia study on what COVID technologies are being used, how GNSS and other similar technologies are being used to mitigate the COVID situation. Some of the information is available on our website. And we're diving in and we're putting a lot of our resources into one-to-one matching and helping companies to work together across continents. Special welcome to the GSA, who will be hosting it here and give us a keynote today.
Hello.
Alberto and Martin. So looking forward to hear what you have to say. And yeah, without further ado, I'd like to hand over, as you're going to learn more about GNSS Asia and India from my colleague Varat later. So now next is the GSA.
Okay, good morning, Rainer. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the introduction. Let me first share my screen. I hope it will work.
Hello, good morning. This is Alberto Fernandez from the GSA. I'm working together with Martin. Martin, I have the slides already there in the screen, I think.
Okay, so go ahead. Yeah, we were not sure that Alberto will be able to join because he was in another urgent meeting. But okay, good. He's joining, so he'll start.
Yeah. So can you see the slides, please?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you very much, GNSS Asia partners, Rainer team as well, in particular, for this kind of invitation. This is quite challenging also for us, because when we are supporting this kind of initiative, we always love to be face to face and to meet our stakeholders all around the world face to face and share not only business talk, but also to share also different cultures and different interests. No. So and nevertheless, I highly appreciate all the effort to organize such a nice workshop. And our first presentation is more an introduction also for what the nice discussions that are coming later in the round table. I will start speaking, but then I will give the floor to my colleague Martin. The topic we would like to talk to you today is about the contribution of the European GNSS, Galileo in particular, to the market, and in particular for the applications related to logistics and e-commerce, and also to give you a view of what's the forecast in these domains. First of all, let me say that the GSA is a European Union agency. We are based in Prague. You know that Brussels is the capital city of the European institutions, but we were lucky to live in such a wonderful city in Prague. Our mission is basically to launch the services. So the European Space Agency normally is in charge of launching the rockets with the satellites, and then once the satellites are in a correct orbit, we are taking over the work of keeping the services online and alive for all around the world. We are also particularly interested in preparing the market for the use of the advantages of Galileo and also EGNOS, that is our regional system for augmentation. And one important thing here is that we are also in charge of all the security of the system. So the accreditation and also the operation of all the security monitoring centers that we have distributed in 2 different locations. Well, as you can see in the list, we have the headquarters in Prague, but we have operational centers, 6 operational centers. But these days we are all teleworking, so I think we have even more operational centers than the one you see in the list. But as you can see, we have many nationalities on only 200 staff. So the cultural diversity is tremendous. Let's go directly to Galileo, because I believe you were hearing about Galileo many years. For those that still doesn't know, Galileo is operational, is working. You can use it, and most probably you are already using in one of your smartphones. If you bought the smartphone during the last years, probably it includes Galileo. Nevertheless, you can go to our usegalileo.eu website and check out if the model that you bought is Galileo enabled or not. As I said, we have 26 satellites launched in 7 years. This is a tremendous effort So in order to overcome the delay of the program, and we expect also to keep launching satellites in order to arrive to the full operational capabilities of the system. This is just an illustrative slide for you to see that you can get Galileo not only in smartphones, but also in others, in car models. We have already 29 car brands that are commercializing models with Galileo capabilities. And also you have around 60 different companies that are commercializing receiver for fleet management systems as well. Because we're speaking today about logistics. And the benefits that are providing with respect to GPS are basically three today. So first of all, Galileo contribute to the multi-constellation. So it's basically something that is quite understood. So the more number of satellites, the better location you get. And this is important to say that we are not competing with GPS or with other systems, other GNSS. We are all working together in order to get better position, and also what we are doing is also contributing by adding additional frequencies. These frequencies is something that we have been investigating recently in the market with some of the chips manufacturers, and they demonstrate that we can reduce, thanks to these dual frequencies, we can duplicate the effect of multipath, that are the reflections made on the buildings before arriving to your receiver. So in particular, by using the two frequencies of Galileo, the E1 and E5, it was demonstrated that you can reduce 50% the effect of multipath. But there are two additional features that we are working on. The first one is the authentication service. This is a feature that is going to be operational next year, and this is quite unique. As far as we know, we are the only system that is implementing this service, and is providing secure and reliable location by detecting interferences, spoofing attacks. It not necessarily have to be intentional, but also could be unintentional. And we are doing through the E1 navigation message authentication that is going to be ready by next year in the E1 bisignal of the open service. And we are also designing these capabilities for the E6 signal with a more complex encryption methodology, and this is something that is going to be implemented from 2022. So in addition to this, we also have the high accuracy service that it was designed at the beginning as a paid service, but now after, I think it was 2-3 years ago, the European Commission decided to make this service for free. So this service is going to provide decimeter level errors in order of magnitude of 20 centimeters, and is going to be implemented in the Galileo E6 signal, but also via internal link. So basically, even if the receiver is not using E6 signal, it can still get benefit of the high accuracy service. On this one, we need still to wait a bit more. We are in the testing phase, and we expect to be operational, the initial operational capabilities by 2022. But we expect to start presenting to the industry technical information on how it's going to work in the next month. Now, going to the topic of today, so the benefit of Galileo for the logistic applications. I will go very fast on this, but just let's start with the basic. Obviously, you can imagine that Galileo, but also GNSS position is very useful in order to get the allocation of the containers. This location of the cargo and serves also to communicate the position to the logistic service providers, and connected to the next application, the corridor and geofencing, it serves also to send alerts to the stakeholder in case there are unexpected situation with the containers. It can be shipping error or possible thefts. So whenever the cargo that is monitored is entering this virtual perimeter, the so-called geofence, it's going to send this alert, and it's going to be generated automatically. Another interesting application is the one related to the stock in transit management. That is basically the potential increase of efficiency and savings that you can find in the supply chain for downstream and retail supply chain. And this is linked to the better stock in transit visibility, and also the fact that by getting a precise determination of arrival time, you can imagine that you can operate much better the demand planning in the logistics centers. So this precision on the arrival time is also critical for the supply chain, and this can be also a big benefit from GNSS. Connected to this, there is the fact, obviously, that this cargo that are georeferenced can be also provide information on the status, on the different parameters of temperature, humidity, any detection of leakage, or any kind of potential damage on the good. And last but not least, I would like to refer to two important elements. That the first one is the application on the asset management. This is something that has a tremendous impact. I think there will be a company in the roundtable of Pinto that will speak also about this, is the fact that GNSS could help to reduce the cost for the infrastructure owners by monitoring the track status and the use, and also to the operators, because they can improve the knowledge when for example, the train movement and maintenance is happening. So this is something that we can discuss later in the roundtable. And finally, there is the futuristic approach on the logistic, is the fact that GNSS is helping a lot for port operations in logistics hub automatization. Automatization of vehicles, that is not happening only in the road transportation, in the automotive industry of autonomous vessel, but also is arriving to logistic. And we already are already funding projects on the automatization of vehicle operation, for example, in straddle carriers in the containers terminal. This is the first introduction, but I think that what is important here is to listen about what are the forecasts and the perspective for the market. And here I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Martin Schunkevik.
All right, thank you, Alberto, for the floor. We actually included this slide because it's actually a advertisement of our two main publications, but I think that's actually very useful for all people around the globe, both of them. So let me start with the GNSS Market report that we published last year in October. It has been already issue number 6. And next year, roughly in October again, we'll have a new one. So we publish it every second year. It's actually, I think, quite valuable report because it's usually it includes the general overview of the global GNSS market. Come on to all application areas. It then goes very deep into the analysis of market segments. Last year we had 10, and next year we will definitely have additional ones. So there is a lot of trends and forecasts included in there, and there is a lot of data. And I will be showing later on some data that I took from the market report. And you will see how valuable it can be for planning of some of business, because there are forecasts 10 years ahead. And just to finish with the market report, there is always some. It is a special where that contains some interesting topic. Last year, actually, it was on the new space. It's actually wrongly written here. It was about the GNSS and new space, basically the receivers in this spacecraft. And then the secondary report, the sister report of the market report is the user technology report. It's focusing on the technology in the user hands, meaning the receivers. And you can read there a lot about the technology developments. And actually, this report it was published in 2018, issue 2. But it's coming very soon, the new edition. We are just finalizing the work on the issue number 3, and I think there will be a lot new features, new information, and on the technology. So please stay tuned to our website. You can, I believe, since yesterday, you can pre-register for receiving the report as soon as it's available for free, of course. So let's go to the next slide. Yes, so I actually took some examples, as I was saying, from the GNSS report, because it is a comprehensive source of data. I took it from the wide angle, trying to find throughout the applications that we are quantifying and for which we are providing the revenues, the shipments, and the number on the installed base, meaning the total receivers in use in various applications. I try to pick up those that has definitely a relevance to logistics. So throughout the report, you can do that, browse on your own. But I picked, for example, in the road, the logistic relevance there is the fleet management, or in agriculture, the farm machinery monitoring and asset management. And in even the drones, from our perspective, is contributing to the logistics and also to e-commerce. We have there quantified, for example, the revenues, service revenues by service area. On the left-hand side, at the bottom, you can see the service revenues for the EU, but actually worldwide, basically it copies the trends, as the same trend as well. So I think we can go to the next slide. Yeah, this one. That's another example. Here, this is a sneak peek on the examples of applications coming from the market segment that we call the consumer solutions, or it was previously called the location-based services. So there, you can see the forecasts of the smartphone sales. These numbers actually are not yet taking into account the impact of COVID. We have observed in latest data that drops, so this will be corrected, but still this can give you quite a good overview how the market will develop. Then I picked, for example, the application as we define it, the low power asset trackers. So you can find those the data on those as well in the report. And another example of app that is related to e-commerce is the geo-marketing and advertising, and that's what we quantified within the revenues that you see on the right hand chart. So I think that was a good introduction and good invitation for you to download the GNSS Market report and to read much more on those. And before I finish, I also want to make advertisement for other publication that was published a couple of months ago. That is called a white paper, and it's a focus on the Internet of Things. But definitely, there is from the perspective that you need for some logistic applications, you need low power devices. From the GNSS perspective, there is it's very useful to also look into those technologies for low power IoT. So I also recommend to look into that publication that can give you a quite interesting insight into what is possible for the logistics mainly. So with that, I think we can conclude, and we'll be happy to question either during the panel or even via chat. if not answered directly, we will make sure that we'll answer you later on via email.
Thank you very much, Alberto and Martin. Are there any immediate questions from the audience? I see a first question from Priyanka, who's asking whether and what the role of the GSA is in this pandemic. Maybe that's a question you can answer, Martin. Is there something that has been done by the GSA?
Yeah, I can answer. So this is a good question, and I was even having doubts to include a slide on this because, well, we try to develop a couple of initiatives in order to support the freight transport community on the problem of the pandemic. So what's happened during the pandemic is that the internal border of the European Union, so the countries that normally they have the border open, they decide to close it, and as you can imagine, it was a big disaster for the transportation. If you have to pass custom all the time in between the internal countries, so the Commission launched an initiative called Green Lane in order to support reducing the time for passing these border controls. And for this, we develop a mobile application, a simple mobile application that is doing geofencing. So it's actually the same feature that was presenting before. It was doing geofencing on the border. So it was possible to compute when the truck was passing the border, it was possible for us to compute how much time it was needed to pass the border. And with this massive information, we were able to crowdsource with other sources from telematic and navigation providers, and to provide a sustainable and comprehensive reporting to the Commission on the different crossing time in the different border points all around Europe. So I think it was very useful application, and this is something that we are these days analyzing to keep alive for future crises. Not only future crises because the pandemic didn't finish, but at the moment we don't have so many problems in the borders. And then there was another application that it was more related on the traceability of COVID. That you know there are many applications already in many countries, and this is something that the GSA took the lead in order to prepare an application that could be useful for traceability and locating the people. But unfortunately, it didn't succeed because, well, we have very strict rules on privacy in Europe. And at the end, it was considered that maybe different technologies such as Bluetooth connectivity could be more useful. But still, it's an application that was developed, and some countries, they were asking us to use it. So this is just two examples of the way we try to contribute. But as I said, it was not so easy when we were teleworking and online. But this is just a way also to demonstrate that space technologies are supported. Thank you for this. Yes.
Yes, glad to share it.
Our team here, our team from Space Tech Partners, they were supporting us on developing this solution. And it's definitely, I can include a slide on this in my presentation to distribute to everyone.
Excellent. Thank you very much for answering this question, Alberto. I would propose, considering also the timing, that we move any other questions to the panel discussion, if that's okay. If there are any further questions to the GSA, do feel free to ask them then. There's the Q&A tab, so feel free to include your questions there also to the audience. If something cannot be answered today, we would be glad to forward your questions also to the GSA team from our side. Now, beyond this, I'd like to thank our speakers from the GSA and give the floor to Mr. Varat Krishna from GNSS Asia, India, to shed his light on the Indian market landscape. Varat, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Hannes. First of all, a good afternoon, a good morning to those in Europe, and a good day to all those elsewhere. Can we have the slide, Hannes? Thank you. So as you heard from my colleague already, Rainer Horn, so what GNSS Asia's role has been to facilitate industrial cooperation and then support institutional relations and also to promote European GNSS and multi-GNSS context. Next. So this is our team. As you could see, the European team comprise Rhino, Hannes, and Alistair. Then Asia is myself in India, as well as my colleague Ravi. Ravi Kumar is also in the audience. Then we have Angela, we have In-Seung from South Korea. Then we have Chen from China, as well as Davov, and Fabrizio, as well as Akira from Japan. Next. So these are the various organizations that are collaborating with the coordinator, Space Tech, based in Brussels and also in Germany. Next. So as you could see, these are the organizations that are involved on both sides, the industries, as well as small and medium enterprises and institutions that have been collaborating on both sides, on the European as well as these 5 countries. I need to also mention here, though the footprint initially was only 5 countries, it has expanded to Australia as well as to Singapore and other parts of Asia, including Philippines. We've done multi-GNSS Asia events there, Brunei, and so on. So as I speak with you, it is continuing to expand. Next. So this is an example of how collaboration happened, and I think in the audience we have, both Jorgen, who's also part of this, he's in the audience, and I know that he's listening to this intently. So he used to be part of Teleorbit, and so this is a great example of the collaboration between EU industry and also Asian industry. So this is from India. So you could see Elena Geosystems was able to license this tech and then collaboratively offer this to Jindal Steel. And interestingly, it was also signed at our event in Kolkata, where Rainer Hahn preceded. It was also one where this event was executed, and the signature was done for contracting this. Next. So what you can see here is also what GNSS Asia can do for you. So you've also heard from other speakers about what GSA does, but over and top of that, what GNSS Asia can do for you is in terms of networking and matching support. So we bring about a lot of events, matchmaking sessions. So this is always the biggest draw when we bring the delegations from Europe who are seeking collaborations, and also the seekers from India, as well as the rest of Asia. High-level EU Asian delegates visits that have happened. So we have done many such delegations to India as well as to other parts of Asia. And so as you have been hearing, one of that event that we did was in Calcutta, where we brought a delegation from EU to visit various facilities that are related to GNSS, like the Geological Survey of India. We visited the navigation department of the government, and so on. So some of the slides are coming up later. So these are some of the examples of how high-level EU-Asia delegation visits are organized. Then we do personalized interviews, identifying individual priorities, and then also guided company visits. So this is an example I gave you. So the same, we have done it in different parts of the country, including Delhi, in Bangalore, as well as in Hyderabad. Dissemination of the marketing support. So this is a slip, we get always, like today, we're giving the speaking slot for both the EU industry as well as the Asian industry, in this case India, to talk about what they do, so that both the sides get to hear and also get to know about what is available and creating a visibility for what they do. It's a demonstration and exhibition opportunities, virtual presentations like this one today, dissemination. So this is, in fact, even during prior to the COVID times, we used to do this. Dissemination of promotional material at international events, market entry support. So like we have always helped many companies from EU to find markets like the one you saw just now, Teleorbit, and there are many others that we have helped in the process, and support in identifying business opportunities for your business, access to experienced local teams, and access to broad industry and institutional stakeholder network. Next. This is, the kind of a profile that we offer for every country that we talked about in the Asian context. So you take this an Indian report, GNSS profile. So we publish about what are the various features and what are the opportunities that exist. And this is provided as a 2-sheet paper so that, it is like a quick summary for someone from the EU side to understand the whole landscape. Next. So this is GNSS.asia website, and you can see some of the events. So quickly, I will go over it. One of them, which is we started in Bangalore 2013. So this is, we brought a delegation from EU to also meet with various industry officials on the Indian side, government officials, also to create engagements, and then created also what you call as industry visits. Next. This is another one. We did it in Delhi. So this is something interesting I want to mention is that, this is something I can never forget. So we had this, special dinner organized at the European Business Group, as well as with the various industry officials at dinner. So at that time, the head of the AII, Airport Authority of India, which is a commercializing agency, the chief of that, he came and asked me, who is doing this for Gagan? So, I said, this is something that you should be doing. And so that shows to you how much of, visibility and, let's say, awareness we created for the activities of the European side on the Indian side. Next. This some of the, like I explained to you already, some of the industries we visited. Accord is a company here in Bangalore. Magnasoft is another one. So they have a school security solution. Then Seacon is into GIS. And then I did mention to you about the GSI, where we had a huge team of GSI officials meeting with the European delegation to discuss the various challenges they have in their industry and how we could collaborate to solve them. Next. So we not only did this kind of large events in cities. So this was our innovation. We found that many times there are a lot of let's say industry and users who are far away from cities. So the best way then was to go to those cities. So we created these roundtables. So the approach was, when you cannot come to our event, we will come to you. And so we were able to do these kind of events in universities and research institutions across India, and some of the pictures that you see here. So it was not only with the industry, but also with the institutions and the universities. And it is not only, say, our events, but it's also events organized by the ecosystem, like ASSOCHAM, for example, that you see here, or CII, or even ISRO. So wherever such events are organized, we take part and then create an awareness about what we do. And then this is an important one. Hannes, why don't you pass a minute? Because this is something I need to mention for the benefit of the European side, is that this particular team from, I do remember, from Thales, and also from another company based in Spain. They were trying to seek meetings with the railway board for nearly 2 years. They didn't succeed. And they were asking me this question: how did I succeed to do it so fast? Because we could get, let's say, a meeting with about 18 officials, senior officials of the Indian Railways, including the chairman. And so this is something noteworthy. I thought I should mention this. Next.
Sorry to interrupt, Varad. I propose that we quickly walk through the other activities, since we're a bit behind time, and I will make sure that we have enough space for our...
Then you can skip these slides, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So I need to mention about the hackathon. So it's not only about doing events, we also did innovation sourcing events like hackathon that you see there. Now coming to the topic of the day, logistics and e-commerce. So you can see some of the highlights of the logistics as an industry in India. And so this is something which is, of course, available in the public domain. And I need to mention that it is one of the greatest opportunities currently, because the COVID situation. People cannot travel. So in every location, there are a lot of challenges. And as I speak with you, it's not only the industry level, but even it's individual consumers like you and me. They're going through a lot of challenges. So this slide actually summarizes that. And the next one is about the setting of the context for today's event. So I thought I will just quickly tell you about the challenges faced today is that lack of integration in transport networks. Today is a major problem. The information technology and warehousing and distribution facilities. So these are, one of the biggest challenges faced in the logistics sector. And then we also noticed that poor management and facilities, heavy loss, damage and deterioration of stock. So this is specifically, I'm talking about farm and perishable goods, where, the shelf life is very limited. And during the COVID time, and even now, there are many places where there's limited lockdown. So the farmer's produce is not able to reach the market in time, and the farmers have to destroy those produce. So we see these kind of very painful pictures and sometimes videos, and it is heartrending to see farmers' hard work going to waste. So what is required right now is a kind of an infrastructure that can pick this and bring directly to the table, as they say, from farm to fork. And this is today the biggest challenge. And so this is something that we have covered here. And the last one is also about the lack of skilled manpower and the lack of training. And so these are, of course, not related to GNSS, but giving you a context, and so that the speakers that are coming up for the panel can pick up on this and then set the tone for further discussions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for this presentation, Bharat. Indeed, so everyone, if you have any questions about the project, find us on www.gnss.asia. And going back to the agenda, it's indeed time for our panel discussion. Meanwhile, we had some questions on the chat, which have been answered by the dear colleagues from the European GNSS agency, indeed making clear that Galileo is free and is visible or accessible with its signals, let's say, globally. Some people had some questions about that. So let's move to the panel right now. And in doing so, I would be glad to give the floor to the moderator of the panel, which is Rainer. Rainer, the floor is all yours. I think you might be muted, Rainer. I will try to unmute you. Seems like we might be suffering from a connectivity problem. Good. In that case, I'd be glad to take his place and to take over and to hereby give the floor to our first speaker. So we have 4 people joining the panel discussion. We have Mr. Singh from Jindal Steel and Power, Gustavo Lopez from Septentrio from Belgium, Mr. Vellan from Elena Geosystems, and Frederik Ronse from Ovinto. And the first speaker will be Mr. Villa, who's CTO of Elena Geosystems. Mr. Vellan, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Good afternoon, everyone in India. Good morning to people in Europe, and good day to everyone else. Let me just share my screen and present from my screen. Yeah, I hope everyone is seeing this.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. See, we are from Elena Geosystems. I'm the CTO of this company. Our company is working in this niche segment of GNSS-based monitoring. We are not a company, we're not an electronic company, we're not a communication company or an IT company which has moved into GNSS. We were created for GNSS, and we were working only in this GNSS domain. We are working from 2012. We are a specialist in multi-GNSS hardware. As being an Indian company, we are oriented towards NAVIC, but multi-GNSS also what they use as Galileo. We are building indigenous capability through R&D. Whatever research that takes place elsewhere in the world is not directly applicable to India. We need to reorient those technologies to Indian terrain, Indian conditions. That's what we do exactly. Then we remove dependency on imported equipment in our domain. We are a technology creator, integrator, and we maintain edge through continuous innovation. We are an interface between the users and the technology. Mostly here users means different companies, and we have end-to-end presence. So this slide gives you our presence. We have a processor. We have a series of receivers catering for different segments of the market. We have our own tracking server, app server, a map server, and we distribute it to the unions, to the what different type of users and companies. So we have an end-to-end presence in this domain, right from the user segment, or what we call downstream applications area, from the processor to the high-level intelligence generation from a system that is there running it in each corporate. Our core products in terms of processors are given here. They are more of a modules. Launched our first module in January 2019, B1A. Then we went to B2B, which was in April 2019. And as we are speaking, we are just delivered our first batch of B2D modules to one of a defense production unit, esteemed customer in India. These modules are multi-GNSS, quad band. We can tune into 3 L-band services and 1 S-band service. They assure you high availability because of being multi-GNSS, and they have very high dynamic accuracy in India. We have measured 0.3 meters, that is 30 centimeter dynamic accuracy using multi-GNSS. They're compact and rugged. We have 3 lines of products. One is intelligent vehicle tracking systems or solutions. This is for buses, vehicles, cars. Basically for that, we have intelligent asset tracking device, which is for specialized applications, and we have research products. Our products in terms of research products are being tested in 1 or 2 organizations in India, which will, in terms of the differential GNSS and all is being tested. And in a short time from now, we'll be switching over to India, will be switching over to our line of products in this domain. I'd like to share something, certain slides or certain data from our servers. So this is a moment of a customer relation manager in Bangalore over a month. So this is where I'm just bringing out certain aspects which are India specific and like to get the attention of the my European counterparts about Indian market. See, this is one person in India who's gone around the entire Bangalore. It's not like other countries. You know, Bangalore one end to another end, it takes more than an hour and a half. At times it takes 2 hours. But just one person moving around. So this is where our technology can be used to locate people or restrict people to certain areas. Whatever marked in that blue or green dot and blue dot is places where he had halted, met the people. Those are the areas in this. The next thing is that we have an application or it's a trial thing going on with the agriculturists. This is a tractor that's moved from the village. That village is in the center of the screen. It's moved down to the field, collected certain things, is gone back to the village, then is gone to a marketplace. So here it's a tractor that's being utilized. Again, the way in which he uses it, a tractor doesn't want to switch it on continuously. He only switches on our navigator itself only when he switches on the tractor. So we have to do certain amount of reorienting of circuit for that purpose. Where the moment it switches on, when his engine comes on, only our tracking device can come on. That's not the case in most of the applications. And moment he switches on, we need to get a tracking thing immediately. So we have to do some amount of algorithm changes. So this is an application which is there. And here, during COVID times, our system was utilized by a hospital in Salem, another city in Tamil Nadu, a southern state from South India. Here you can see movement of this ambulance over a fortnight. This is what it was utilized for. No other place, I mean, most of the transportation and other movements were stopped. But however, certain hospitals took these devices from us for coordinating their movement. This hospital per se from Salem utilized our services in a big way. So coming on to the expectations from our about 8 years of experience with the Indian market, I just summed up certain expectations from the market per se. People are expecting rugged devices with high accuracy. The old days, people used to think that yes, 10 meters, 20 meters adequate. But today, Indian users are more oriented towards meter accuracy. Then they're cost sensitive. Like we are developing an economy, we'll be cost sensitive. They think about having one-time installation and paying it off at one time. They're not interested in a recurring payment type of situation. Then solutions are preferred by corporates than devices or services.
Hello? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I don't hear the speaker anymore.
Exactly. It appears that we have lost our speaker, or that we at least have lost the connectivity from Mr. Vil and from Elina Geosystems, for which I of course apologize. I think we're all in COVID times. Many people are working and presenting from home, and these things do happen. I propose that we, in the meantime, move to our next speaker, and then follow up afterwards, and that we give the floor to Mr. Singh from Jindal Steel. Mr. Singh, are you there? Excellent.
I'm there. Are you able to see me?
Perfect. We can see you very well. Thank you.
Yeah. First of all, I think someone, Velan or Ravi, has to put the presentation from their end. I think they were supposed to share the presentation. It's a very sleek presentation. So before I proceed, I must compliment and congratulate the entire GNS team for such a elaborate, detailed work over last couple of years. I'm associated with them for last almost 7 years, and I have seen the progress in last 6 to 7 years has changed a lot, and perspectives has changed. So my I'm talking from a different perspective, and yes, thank you. Let me first of all, let me brief about my company. Jindal Steel and Power Limited is a other side of the story, that is the user end. We are the users. So we are the 4th largest conglomerate of India in steel, power and cement sector. Our major business is steel, and we produce over 10 million ton of steel per annum. And our turnover works out to be more than $5.5 billion a year. And the total cargo which we handle every year, whether it is through sea route or train route or truck route, is about 45 million tons of various products, whether it is finished products or raw material, which amounts to about almost near to 4 million ton per month we handle the cargo. So I'll not go into the heavy bulk commodity as of now. I'll pin down my proposition for a very specific commodity. We are the next, please go to the next. We are one of the most modern technological players in the country. Can you change the slide, whoever is operating? Can I request? No. You have jumped by 2 more slides. Go back. 1 more. Yeah. Our company's philosophy and vision is state-of-art technology. We are the most modern in technology adoption and processes, And we are one of the most efficient steel producers of country and world. And we always believe in innovative processes, ideas, and theories. And as a result, we have the largest blast furnace in country, that is 4,600 meter cube, the only one furnace in the country working. Then we are the largest coal gasification plant in the world, provided by Lurgi Technology at our Angul plant. So we believe in this innovative and new technologies. So we ventured into GNSS way back in 2014 with the Elina Geosystems. Go to the next slide, please. I'll take example of a very small part of my total cargo being handled. Next one. Yeah. That is the TMT rebars, which is a commodity. And can you go to the next, where a diagram is there? So this TMT business is a commodity. Basically, we deal more than 200,000 tons of metric ton every month, out of which, next slide, next, the diagram.
My apologies. It appears that there's a technical issue.
It's okay.
Can you
In
see
the
the
meantime,
slide?
let me explain. Yes, thank you.
Can I flash it? Can I flash it for Harvinder?
Okay, thank you. So this commodity is a very common product, and we handle every month over 200,000 metric ton, and out of which 60 to 65% cargo goes by trucks and trailers, which amounts to about 4,500 trucks per month. We load this finished product. Amounts to 150 trucks every day moving out from our factory. The diagram explains to you where is our pain point and challenge, where GNSS can help us. On the right hand side, you see there is a market. There are various customers. In between, there is a stakeholder who's in between supplier and buyer. What happens when we dispatch a truck from JSPL? A stakeholder book that product in the name of Market 1.
Hello.
Once it goes out, we are using currently GPS system.
Yes.
What are the challenges I'm facing where I need solution from your end?
I'm not showing.
Can you please mute yourself if you're not speaking, please? Thank you. Please proceed, Mr. Singh.
Shall I?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what happens, the pain point is when a truck moves out from the JSPL plant under the ownership of stakeholder for Market 1. But once it goes out from our premises, our physical control on the truck is lost. It is only through GPS. We can see how the truck is moving. But at a midpoint, truck diverts and goes to Market 2. And it doesn't go to Market 1. Whereas there is a manipulation, GPS goes to Market 1 by some other mean. So in mapping, it shows from JSPL to Market 1, the truck has reached, whereas it goes to a different market. And it is very difficult because 150 trucks every day, they are not dedicated fleet. They are floating fleet in the market available system. So trucks are not dedicated for one leg or any particular leg. Therefore, having fixed GPS or fixed equipment on the system on the dashboard of the truck is not possible. It is a kind of a mobile portable device we are installing in the truck for the particular journey from point A to the end point. Come to the next slide, please. This leads to a lot of difficulties to our organization. We lose control on market. A product has gone to market 1, but it goes unofficially to market 2 or 3 or 4, which impacts our margins, because in India we work on the landed basis. The landed price of the commodity in A, B or C market minus the freight. So if the product is sold in the nearer market, we lose margins because of the lower freight taken by the shareholder, which leads to customer dissatisfaction. Our brand gets impacted adversely. I'll not go in deep. Then efficiency is also lost. Therefore, we request all the stakeholders in GNSS how to help us, so that, go to the next, how we can control the market and we can stop this phenomena is known as infiltration. Means product going to market 1, unofficially going to market 2, which is damaging our business, and we don't have any clue to track it because it's a huge organization. Tracking becomes difficult. And main objective is to maintain OTIF. Once we achieve all these 4 targets or 4 parameters, my cost will be optimized. My optimization will take place. My profitability will be stable, and customer satisfaction will be in place. So keeping all these challenges for long, we have ventured into Elena Geosystems. Go to the next slide. We have taken Mr. Whelan on board, and we wanted to try how your GNSS work and how it can help us. So we have taken 2 small prototype of trial runs, which were very successful, but the application was entirely different. What I am talking about, the current problem, which is the commercial application, we tried for our security of our very valuable assets, which were placed in the jungle in Jharkhand, and we were doing it manual security. Later on, we provided this Elena Geosystems to them, and we were able to monitor them that they are doing their job rightly, they are doing patrolling correctly. So our efficiency improved, and cost was also further reduced by reduction of manpower and reduction of overhead expenses. Second application we tried for our 4-wheelers moving in and around the plant and local district. So we installed this system in their driver's mobile, and we could track their movement very particularly, that unauthorized traveling to unwanted places could be seized, and we significantly saved on part of the fuel cost and unwanted usage of the vehicles. But now the time has come, solution is required. Expectation is, next slide. Expectation is there should be a kind of complete awareness what Galileo is doing in our market. It is not known. It is not a very known product. Their capabilities, their infrastructure, and how they do their services. Then we do not know about their capabilities in terms of their satellites, their accuracy, their availability of services, and how it will help us in tracking our movement of large fleet of trucks. And if it is capable as an industry user, I would request to give us some view about end-to-end, a kind of a turnkey package concept where the Indian part of your group can take a project and lead it from designing, conceptualization, implementation, and successful commissioning. Once the system is completed in practice, then the running system can be handed over to the IT team or the operational team of the company, and then they will go into the supervision or overviewing mode, and the company will take over that system implemented for a particular tracking system. And once we do that, it should be very cost effective. It should be very competitive. There are companies working in India today. We are talking to several companies and they use various technologies. So it should be competitive, should have overedge than the available platforms and solutions in the country. And in totality, there should be a situation where it is a win-win situation for GNSS and the user in order to achieve the targeted monitoring and effective monitoring of the particular vehicle. So this is the expectation of industry from the August group sitting here from GNSS. So this is how I wanted to brief our requirement. I have talked about only 5% of cargo being dealt every month through this forum. If it is successful, you can imagine India is the ocean. If it is done successfully, there will be endless opportunities of implementing this technology. With this, I thank you. I hope I could explain my requirement and my pain points and how to overcome. With this, I thank and hand over back to you. If any questions, further clarifications, I would like to explain the gaps. Thank you.
Harvinder, thank you very much for showing your perspective and your application need from end user perspective. We understand your group is a very big group. I think this will be great inspiration for both the Galileo community, but also the system integrators and solution companies like Elena Systems, who will be able to respond to that. Are there any immediate reactions from the audience? Any questions with regards to that? And maybe the Galileo team, who has also been asked indirectly of what is available in India here and now. Does anyone want to react to this immediately? No? As far as GNSS.asia is concerned, we cannot initiate specific projects. Our role is here to bring together the various parties so that they get to know each other, that they know the system provider side, what the GSA represents. And we have a global product that most of the features are global and are globally available. And then, of course, it's our job to make it more known in India so that system providers in India are picking it up and are turning this into products for the Indian market, maybe in cooperation with European companies who have some already existing solutions or some that might help a bit further.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes,
I'm sure someone will come up and I'm sure we will be given a proper fruitful answers maybe on later date. Thank you very much.
There is a nice comment here. Jürgen here from Germany has just pointed to the Galileo Open Service Navigation Message Authentication, which is due to come online in the next month or so. And that could possibly help you to check whether the position is correct. There's all kind of documentation online. If you look on the GSA website, there's already some functionality there, but I'm sure that Elena Systems will be able to explain the ins and outs of that.
Thank you very much, and thanks for giving the opportunity to be part of your platform. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So let's hand over to the next speaker in the audience, in the program. And I think the next speaker is from Septentrio, isn't it? Yes, Gustavo. Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Septentrio is a fairly is one of the pioneers of GNSS business in Europe. A company founded probably 15 something years ago. We know them very well. They have also joined us on trips to India before, on delegation trips with GNSS Asia, and we look forward to your presentation now.
Thank you. I hope you can see my screen properly, full screen, I guess.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay, let me start. So thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy here to talk about a bit of logistics and transportation, especially the experience that we have from Septentrio point of view. Let me actually start with something, and let me move to the next slide. Yeah, there we go. So I think it's very important to remember what we are talking about, which is automation. And I think the first rule in any technology used in business is that automation, if you apply it to an efficient operation, you will really magnify the efficiency. And that's really important. We have seen that all the way from how it started with agriculture. We have seen it in the also in the early days, how people were doing things manually, and then they created some production lines in order to make things more efficient. That was the Industrial Revolution, and then it started to come also into computers. And now, of course, we get to see a fourth revolution, which is a very interesting one that has a big impact also in surely in the logistics and transportation. And one very interesting question, and I will put that to all of you, which is what delivery time will really change your purchasing habits. I mean, we are all used to order something maybe online, and maybe it takes about a week. It could take maybe 2 days, but if you have it in the next day or maybe in the next hours, you will be actually quite happy. But it's very interesting to see in this graph that for people, if you get it in the same day or within the next hour, you will not really change your purchasing habits. You will not really purchase more. Maybe in a bit of the food, of course, type of deliveries, you will be very interesting. But if you have a delivery that goes less than 15 minutes, then that can change a lot the purchasing habits of people. And that's actually, I mean, this is just one example in logistics, which is a delivery type of things. But it's very interesting to see how people are trying to make their efficiency much more in logistics and transportation markets. Let me start very briefly by telling you who Septentrio. Septentrio is a company that works and develops GNSS technology. We provide reliable anti-spoofing, anti-jamming, but also very accurate positioning as well for the market. We are an OEM partner. That means that we provide these systems that can be integrated into the different applications. So we know that in logistics, there is a lot of special customizations. We have heard already from our speakers. So we have some know-how as well, not only in the logistics side, but Septentrio develops systems that go all the way from the surveying, mapping, to large machinery in construction, mining, but also surely in the logistics, transportation, and even rail systems as well. We provide systems which are modules, GNSS modules that you could integrate, but also we provide some system boxes that can also be easily integrated into the applications. Here I have some examples just to give you a bit of the taste of the applications that Septentrio works with and how the integrators are using our GNSS technology. You can see as an example containers that are being moved from one place to another, and actually there are vehicles that are automating this process in order to have a much more higher efficiency behind it. They need precision, they need reliability of a GNSS system, they even need the orientation of this type of vehicles in order to make it very optimal. You can see also the terminals using this, and we get to see lots of automation in that sense as well. But also we get to see things as well in the rail market. In the rail market is not only using GNSS in order to have the safety of the passengers, but actually in cargo trains, there is a lot of GNSS technology in order to optimize how many trains or can you put into optimize all that railway infrastructure that you have. And very interesting as well is, and this is the beauty of working in GNSS technology, is the fact that we get to see newer type of applications, and we get to see robots, delivery robots, and it's not anymore in the future. We get to see companies developing this, implementing and making them available in the market. We get to see drones delivering packages, started with medicines, but also there are other goods that are started to be delivered as well, or autonomous trucks that are working in the transport industry and going all the way to the terminal operations as well. So it's very interesting, the type of applications. When we think about how is GNSS being used in all this type of logistics and transportation, it goes all the way. We have, of course, in the warehousing operations, we have some vehicles that are being traced with some high precision, and they need some autonomous type of operations in order to move packages and to administer the whole yard of material that they may be having. We also have terminal operations. They are being moved in the ship, basically, or maybe as well in the railway, in order to transport all those goods. Then we have some trucks that are basically transporting all those goods. So therefore there is some tracing. We have heard about some of the applications already, but then there is something also very interesting that is happening now, which is this last mile delivery. How can we optimize the last mile delivery? And this is actually where robotics applications or UAV drones could also play a very interesting role there. And all these applications require some available GNSS technology. They require an accuracy element. We are talking now about centimeter accuracy, and they also need security. There is a lot of safety element that is being looked into this type of applications. When I take a look at the major trends in logistics for the applications and a bit of the link that they have with GNSS technology, surely we get to see autonomous. Autonomous is having a big emphasis. Basically, how can we have a system that is fully autonomous, working 24 hours a day, and therefore we get to see some technologies like sensor fusion, SLAM, robotics applications behind it to keep these operations. We could get to see connectivity as a second element. You want to monitor, you want to trace these things online, you want to maybe even connect different type of vehicles together in order to have them collaborating each other as well. We get to see, and I think that has been also mentioned, we get to see the need for accurate localization. People want to have more precision in their systems, not only for the automation, but also for their goods behind it as well, and some orientation element of the vehicles as well in order to have more autonomous systems there. Blockchain, it was already mentioned by Alberto. We get to see some secure operations, and people want to be sure that they are tracking at each step of the operations of logistics as well. And another one that is very interesting is wearables. We get to see that people don't want to track only the goods, but they also want to have more visibility about the personnel, the people that are working in these terminals, in these logistics operations. And they are using, as an example here, you can see a helmet with a GNSS receiver in order to have the safety of the personnel or to even have some optimization of the logistics operations. When we think about how is GNSS being used in this type of logistics, I put it into three words. I will put it, of course, people want to have the positioning element of a vehicle or of a good or of the personnel. They want to have also the orientation. Orientation happens a lot when we are talking about automation. Where is my vehicle oriented? How can I move one package from here to the other? And the other important thing is security, which is mainly the safety. People are working in very difficult environments, big vehicles, so there is a lot of care about the safety element as well here. You can see here an example at the bottom left with a customer of us. They are actually moving steel coils, and they are automating the whole operation, and therefore, they have a full connectivity of that. They can trace all the goods. They can move them from one place to the other without losing their big steel coils as well. But the safety element is definitely important. So for Septentrio, accuracy, reliability, availability, and security is the elements that we provide with our GNSS technology, which can be with either receiver modules or box type of receivers that are integrated into these automation operations. I think somebody was asking the effect of Galileo or other signals. How can that help you? When we are talking about logistics, we are talking about difficult environments. You can see lots of containers here. You can see how the GNSS signals are not easily coming everywhere. In the other hand, you also have reflection of the signals, which is normally commonly known as multipath. So at the moment that you are working in such environments, you really need a robust, reliable GNSS system. And yes, other GNSS signals like Galileo will give you extra availability of the system as well. But you can also use other type of technologies such as GNSS INS. At the end, what you want to avoid is this type of accidents as you get to see here at the bottom right, bottom left of my screen as well. And the other element, as I mentioned, is security. Security is very important. We get to see a lot in the transport industry, in the logistics industry, this type of jamming. People don't want to be traced. They basically buy this for, I don't know, $30 US online, and they put it in their cigarette lighter, and they are jamming, and therefore there is a big impact in either jamming side or the spoofing side. So this is something we get to see in this industry quite a lot. And we have a technology that mitigates this and also protects it and allows you to monitor it real time. So that concludes my presentation. I think, as I was mentioning, I do believe that it's not only the accuracy, but also the reliability, especially for this type of job operations when we are talking about logistics and transport. Autonomous systems are coming, and we get to see those applications already being applied with different type of companies. So yes, you require the safety element for sure, as well as the accuracy side. And yeah, we in September, we provide the heart of this localization element as well. So I don't know if there are further questions, but that concludes my presentation, Rainer.
Rainer, you're muted.
Maybe thank you, Gustavo, for providing this nice presentation and also what is new and what are the main trends here. I have a quick question to you. Do you want to react to Jindal Steel and to what extent Septentrio could possibly help in that solution? That might be a very practical way of starting a dialogue.
Yeah. There are different type of parts in that. Maybe just let me give you an example, and I have a backup slide maybe that can help here. This is actually one example that we have. It's a steel company, actually. They are indeed integrating GNSS technology. They use our GNSS receivers, which is, as an example here, what we call the Asterix U. Is a very robust box, and that's integrated, as you can see here, in the forklift. And the forklift has also some other elements that they are using in order to identify the steel coils that they are moving from one place to the other. Now, this is just one example. As I mentioned here, you can see the animation of the vehicle moving that and actually tracing that, sending information back to the control center using the accurate positioning there. The system is also using orientation. So this vehicle, you need to orient it in the right way in order to pick up the coil and move it from one place to the other. And very interesting, I mean, this is just one side of the operation of steel, but you have many other elements. Safety is a very important element. Unfortunately, you can see here an accident actually with these big vehicles, as you can imagine, is very dangerous. Sometimes you don't have the visibility of the personnel because you have a lot of big material on top of that. So GNSS can also help there. They are also using our GNSS technology in order to monitor the personnel as well within the factory, which gives them high accuracy and also the reliability element as well there. They are also using a mapping device like the smart antenna here in order to have what they call the virtual mapping of their yard in order to be able to move all these vehicles as well. This is just one use case, I would say, in steel, but it's very interesting to see how the technology has given them high efficiency. This is actually in Mexico. They also had a lot of material that was sometimes lost. let's say, stolen in a few occasions. So yes, they are also using this technology to put it in the transports and therefore moving them from one place to another in a safe way. And I mentioned a bit the problems of jamming and spoofing. Again, this type of crime is very familiar with this type of devices. So if you have a robust GNSS technology, you can avoid this type of problems as well.
Thank you, Gustavo. So if there are any more questions, please put them into the feed. So maybe we can address them after the final presentation that is now coming up. I'd like to bring on stage now Ovinto, Frederic, who we've known for 6-7 years, an entrepreneur from Belgium, who built a sizable business also in the logistic area, working with dangerous goods initially, but certainly he's looking after supply chain security in a different way. So Frederic, we're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much. I will immediately share my screen and I hope that you can see it. Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. So yes, we are Ovinto from Belgium. We're dedicated to rail freight, and our mission is to make the complete rail freight supply chain more efficient. When we start about the problem in rail freight is that in comparison with trucks, ships, and planes, that it is still being handled like 100 years ago, and it is very, very, very depending on manual actions, and it is not yet really connected, making that there's a lot of as said, manual effort, but also delay in when the data arrives where it needs to arrive. And because rail is used for bulk transports, you are talking about massive amounts of goods, and it always has an impact on every single department within your company, because you don't know what is happening. Everyone will be impacted, and everyone needs to talk to each other to see where is my transport, what is happening. So it is going from maintenance to procurement to production to operations. And the biggest problem, of course, is when the trains are leaving your factory sites, that you become blind because you're dependent on external parties to know where your goods and your transports are. So we use GNSS in combination with satellite communication to equip all those unpowered assets, the rail cars, the wagons, with devices so that we can connect them and that we can visualize them. And so the moment we visualize our complete fleet, we can start to think about optimizing it. So the advantage of multiple constellations and now Galileo together with GPS is that it becomes much more precise, and precision in rail is important, because if I have two rail tracks in a factory yard and one track is the production track and the other one is the waiting track, I typically will ask the question to one of my colleagues, where is the number 15? Is it on the production track yet, or is it on a waiting track? And to know, I literally need to go outside and to go and see, which is not really good for efficiency. So if we have better precision, we can automate things better, typically in environments where it is difficult. As we heard before, there can be reflection when there's a lot of metal. But the advantage of using GNSS in combination with satellite communication is that we have a global coverage everywhere around the world, even in the jungle, even on the sea, wherever. We will have a reliable connection on one network, and with the positioning, we can start to automate and increase efficiency. You also see that there's a lot of possible sensors. Of course, when we start to measure, we will measure the things that are important. So when we talk about steel coils, we will typically measure the temperature of the coils, because if the coils are still too hot, you can damage the rail cars. If we're talking about liquids, we will measure the filling level. So in a way, connecting your assets and visualizing them using GNSS and having precision means that you can start to automate it. And automation means that you will have efficiency gains. You will have huge cost savings because you don't have to do it manually anymore. The more you put in rail, the less you have to put in truck, which means that you will increase your footprint drastically. You will take human errors away, and of course you will increase capacity. And the moment you start to share data with your customers, you will improve customer satisfaction. And that is the overall goal, because you're in a competitive marketplace. You want to improve the satisfaction of your customers to make sure that they stay your customer. And then, as said, we are trying to connect as much players as possible in that specific ecosystem that is called rail freight, and that goes from the owner of the rail cars to the workshop to, of course, the shipper that wants to move the goods, to the tractionaire, the operator having the locomotives. And the fun part there is that if we retrieve GNSS data from all of those players, we can start to visualize what happens in the grid, and in that way we are building kind of a Waze system for rail freight, so that parties start to collaborate, and that the info from one party is helping the other party. So that is in short what we do, and all the logos that you see here on this slide are already connected to our technology in Europe, and of course we might try to help you in India to do the same. So this is very, very short on what Ovinto does.
Thank you, Frederick, for this comprehensive and quick overview of what you're doing. You seem to have the whole chemical industry in Europe and also some in the Middle East already in your clientele, and your cooperation with SAP also seems to be something that makes you even more global. Yeah.
Yes, the goal is that we try to use the data collected and then feed it into the systems of our customers. And typically when you work with rail, you will see that you have large software packages already installed, and then we want to help you to make those software packages even more efficient. Okay.
Yes. So, I mean, we are working on also more broadly with SAP, also in Asia with GNSS.asia. And so that is an opportunity to go also a bit left and right. Are there any questions now specifically to Ovinto from the audience right now? I don't see any in the feed here. In that case, we probably want to open up the discussion a little bit to others. So there are the GSA colleagues are still online. And also, I think the other speakers are there. There's one question here which is more railway related. Maybe you want to answer this, Frederick, if it is in your field, about do you use rail collision avoidance? I guess that it's not exactly your business, is it?
Well, to be very honest, rail collision avoidance, you first need to know where your assets are before you can start to think on, I will try to not make them to have collisions. And I think that now 99% of all assets are not connected. So rail collision is like step 25, but of course we will work towards that in the future. But the very first thing should be to connect the population to at least see it. What we already do, of course, is to measure or monitor the drivetrain to make sure that we don't have any derailings, to see if the brakes are still okay, if the wheels are good, if there's no wheel flats, those things. But rail collision, then we would need to first have the whole fleet equipped.
Yeah, okay, thank you. There's another question from Mohan Raj. He would like to know, he or she, I'm not sure what name it is, any chance of using it for the fishing industry, what you're offering? Can you also track fishing boats or?
Yes, yes, of course. Yes, yeah, but of course, every unpowered asset and you have connection worldwide. Yes, of course. And I think it's very relevant because I know that now there's new regulations coming out to follow fishery. So yes, of course.
Mm-hmm. Good. Are there any? Yeah. We have border problems with a few countries. Okay, so that's where the question is. So Mohan says he's from Elena in India. Okay. So any questions to the GSA or any of the other speakers we have had online so far? Is there anyone from the other speakers from the maybe Wieland or so? To what extent are you using Galileo, and which features have you already switched on in your multi receivers? I understand that your product is one of the few receivers that can actually combine all the different GNSS systems from around the world?
Yes, we have not used Galileo for a commercial application yet, but for research purposes, people are using Galileo using our module. They're taking it to measure and record the functioning or the performance of Galileo in India. 1 or 2 research institutions have taken it.
Okay. And to what extent, and what do you expect when Galileo is fully switched on also in your product? What improvements are you expecting to see?
Our product is ready to receive Galileo and other Galileo services. As of today, our product is ready. And there are in Indian context, we have Indian satellites also. So they give certain services, but Galileo gives us slightly more better services. So it will be of good use if Indian users use Indian satellites and the Galileo satellites.
Okay, thank you. Let me see. There's another Q&A.
I hope I've answered it.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Or is it? No, what I'm saying is that.
Yes.
Shall I repeat it? Shall I repeat it?
No, it was fully understood, I think. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks.
Maybe I can complement a bit, Rainer.
Yes, please. Yeah.
On the Galileo part, we already have indeed some customers in India. Definitely, Galileo, as I was mentioning, will definitely help mainly on availability. That's what is quite attractive, especially in difficult environments. That's where you will get to see the difference. Maybe you will not see so much on the accuracy, but much more on the availability of the solution, and especially for logistics application, as I mentioned, is quite important as well to have that. Yeah.
Okay. We have here a question which is probably for Martin from the GSA. Are GNSS services available on mobile phones with 5G?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, of course, GNSS services are available on mobile phones. I mean, it's a different functionality. So, but phones that are capable of 5G, they of course have the GNSS chip inside, and they receive the signals, and they calculate the location from those.
Okay. Very good. Good. Maybe a last question to Ovinto quickly. I mean, since we have such a nice audience from our partners and also people who are involved in the GNSS ecosystem, like AAI, I saw some participants online. What is it that you would need, what you would look for in India? What type of partners? Whom should they spread the word to that your cool technology is available also in India and is connected and ready to use also for big corporates? What can the audience do for you, or who would you like to meet in India?
For us, it would be phenomenal to meet shippers, and in rail, the shippers are the producers of the goods that want their goods to be shipped by rail. So the steel company, Jindal, would be interesting, but also chemical companies, because they want to increase efficiency, and they have a lot of extra manual work because of the typical work that exists in rail. And then if we, on the second side, we would look at operators who own the locomotives and who own the wagons, because we can very, very easily reduce a massive amount of costs on maintenance. Because if we follow the fleet, we can see what wagon has been used much more than another one. And we can also predictively tell you, you should take this wagon first in maintenance instead of this. And so we had a calculation being done from McKinsey that if we go from time-based reactive maintenance towards condition-based maintenance, that you can save up to 30% in operational costs, because typically in rail, you will have unforeseen repair costs. So I would think the operators owning the fleet and of course also the shippers wanting to move the goods, that would be the perfect contacts in India.
Okay, thank you. And also another question maybe to
Rainer,
Leo.
I want a good news for Frederick that the government of India has just privatized the railways. And so, private operators are going to be shipping, and this is the right time to be in India.
And I think it might be a good time actually for you to have a bilateral with Varat afterwards. 2 years ago or 3 years ago, he organized a special workshop with the railway board and various senior stakeholders in there. So maybe that might be useful for you to follow up there. Then Septentrio, maybe a similar question to you. In India, what type of partners are you looking for? What problems are you trying to solve beyond the ones that you presented?
Yeah, it's very, very close to what Frederick was actually mentioning. Indeed, the type of people is people that are busy with the shipping side, especially terminal operations. I would say that's where we have a very good expertise. I was mentioning about the steel industry is definitely one that wants to have a bit of automation there, but also integrators. I'm sure that in India there is a lot of integrators in logistics transportation that want to bring automation, and for us these are definitely very interesting people to work with because they can bring the value added to the Indian market. No, we provide them a very robust GNSS technology, and then they can localize the applications that they have there.